Hello students, good afternoon everyone. Today we are going to discuss about the error handling and symbol table management. In the last lecture we studied about the various phases of compiler. We learned about the lexical analysis phase, the syntax analysis phase, the semantic analysis phase, the intermediate code generation phase, code optimization phase, and finally the code generation phase. I gave a brief introduction about the symbol table out there, but I also spoke about the symbol table as well as the error handling. These two are also part of the phases of compiler, wherein these two, whether be it symbol table or error handling, this one aspect, they all communicate with all the 6 phases of the compiler. How that we will see over here. Okay. First of all, the error handling, we speak about what it is saying. The 3 analysis phases can encounter various errors. If we remember, the analysis phase is the analysis part is your first 3 phase, and the synthesis part is the last 3 phase. So in the analysis phase, that is the lexical analysis, syntax analysis, and semantic analysis, we can come across several errors. That is what it is saying over here. The 3 analysis phases can encounter various errors. For instance, what it is saying, the lexical analysis can find out that the upcoming sequence of numeric characters represents no number in the source language. One example is given. What it is saying that in the lexical analysis phase, that one can find out that the upcoming sequence of numeric characters, whatever it is coming, represents no number in the source language. There is no number in the source language. So this can be one error. The number which is coming is not there in the source language. In the syntax analysis phase, what it is saying, can find out the tokenized version of the source program and cannot be parsed by the grammatical rules. What it is saying, that the syntax analysis phase can find out the tokenized version of the source program, which cannot be parsed by the grammatical rules. So there can be several tokens which cannot be parsed by the grammatical rules. So this can be one kind of error. In the semantic analysis, what it is saying, finally the semantic analysis may detect an incompatibility regarding the operands attached to an operator. Okay, so let's say we are not able to, let's say division is there and integer is given, integer division is, remainder is not possible. So operator incompatibility can be, operand incompatibility can be there. So there can be several kinds of errors. All these has to be communicated. What it is saying, the error handler must be able to detect any error of this kind. So for error handling also we have got a dedicated unit, unit 4, there wherein in unit 4 we will learn about symbol table as well as but for the time being we should know this, that yes, in the basically the error occurs in the 3 phases, the lexical analysis phase, the syntax analysis phase, and the semantic analysis phase. In the symbol table management, in the last lecture we are talking about, it is nothing but a kind of data structure which records the data of the various tokens, leximes, and so on. Okay, so see what it is saying. An essential function of a compiler is to record the variable names used in the source program and collect information about various attributes of each name. Let's say ID1 is there. What is ID1? What kind of data type it is? What it is? What value it will constitute? What value it will take? What value it will give? And so on. There can be several kind of information associated with particular token or identifier, whatever you understand. What it is saying in the second point, these attributes may provide information about the storage allocated for a name, its type, its scope, wherein the program its value may be used, and in the case of procedure names means function names. Okay, such things as the number and types of its arguments, the method of passing each argument, for example by call by value or by call by reference, and type returned, void, int, float. So these are the various kinds of information that is required to be stored. Where it is stored? It is stored in the symbol table. From where it will be retrieved? From the symbol table. The symbol table is a data structure containing a record for each variable name. It is very important line. It is a data structure containing a record for each variable name with fields for the attributes of the name. You can see in this diagram, if I take the last lecture, this one example, it is position equal to initial plus rate into 60. Okay. So position, initial rate, all these are your real type variable. 60 is your integer type variable. As you can see here, others are variable and the last one is a constant, as you can see in the 60 part. So this is how the data is stored in the symbol. This is the data structure should be designed to allow the compiler to find the record for each name quickly and to store or retrieve data from that record quickly. So data structure you all know about, the rows and columns, how it is stored and so on. So here we have to understand in the symbol table all the various variables that are used, its related information will be stored in the symbol table. Now, this is another aspect of understanding the compiler. We have understood two aspects of compiler, definition rather. One is the analysis and synthesis part. This is one aspect by which we understand the definition of compiler. Another was the various phases of compiler. That was another aspect to understand. Now this is the third aspect to understand the definition. Third aspect is the passes. Okay, so here it is saying grouping of phases into passes. We can have multi-pass compiler, single pass compiler. How we will understand what is called as multi-pass compiler or single pass compiler or one pass compiler, whatever. So this is what we are going to study over here. The discussion of phases deals with the logical organization of a compiler, various phases, lexical, syntax, semantic and so on. In an implementation, activities from several phases may be grouped together into a pass. Several activities will be grouped together into a pass that reads an input file and writes an output file. Again the blocking is being done. Like in the analysis part, the blocking was done, the three phases constituted it together. In the synthesis part, the next three were constituted together. So this way we can group. Okay, that grouping will be called as the number of passes will decide about whether it is multi-pass or one pass. Phase is used to classify compilers according to construction, while pass is used to classify compilers according to how they operate. This is the major difference between phases and passes. One question can arise in the mind, like if we have got 6 phases, then we have got passes. Phases is also about grouping of several things. Passes is also about grouping of several things. So what is the basic difference between phases and passes? The phase is about classifying compilers according to constructions. How compiler will be constructed, that is the distribution is shown in the phases of compiler, and how they will operate is defined in the pass of the compiler. Okay, like for example it is given the front end phases of lexical analysis, syntax analysis, semantic analysis and intermediate code generation might be grouped together into one pass. Okay, lexicals, syntax, semantic and intermediate is grouped together into one pass. Code optimization might be an optional pass. Then there could be a backend pass consisting of code generation for a particular algorithm. This is how the pass is created. We can group the phases, two phases into one pass, then next 2 phases into one pass, and so on. So here what is being done, 4 phases is that the front end part is taken into one pass and the back end part is taken into the another pass. Basically, how many passes are there in compiler? 2 passes are there, multi-pass compiler and 1 pass compiler. Multi-pass means there will be several passes. 1 pass means source and then target. See what it is being said in the multi-pass compiler. A compiler that scans the input source code once produces a first modified form, then scans the first modified form and produces second modified form, and so on. Intermediate representations will be created. Okay. Source code once it will do, then it will create a modified form. Then that modified form will be taken as input, it will create another modified form. Then that another modified form will be taken into input and it will create once again another modified form, and so on it will go on. Second modified form and so on until the required object form is produced. Such a compiler is called as multi-pass compiler. In multi-pass compiler what happens? Each function of the compiler can be performed by one pass of the compiler. Okay. So in multi-pass we can generate several passes. So we can say that each function of the compiler can be performed by one pass of the compiler. In one pass what will happen? One pass means no intermediate representation will be there. One pass compiler is a compiler that passes to the source code of each compilation unit only once. Okay. So each compilation unit only once it will go. Like in one pass compiler, when a line source is processed, it is scanned and the tokens are extracted. Okay. Then the syntax of the line is analyzed and the tree structure and some tables containing information about each token are built. We had several phases of compiler. Okay. So if I take just the lexical analysis, source program, output is token. So it is one pass. Then another one was syntax analysis, token as input, pass tree as output, again one pass, and so on. Finally, after the semantical part is checked for correctness, the code is generated. The same process is repeated for each line of code until the entire program is compiled. So each phase can be treated as single pass. Okay. And then when we group together these single passes into one, it becomes a multi-pass compiler. Further points are given. What is being said? Compilers are broken into several passes and each pass communicate with each other via temporary files. Temporary file means that intermediate output what you are getting will be treated as temporary files because it is not the target output. When source program, point number 2, when source program is inputted to compiler, it reads the source program and stores what? Values, variables, function, etc. in temporary files. This is done in one pass, and in the second or subsequent passes, meaning of each is substituted. So in one pass, what is being done? It is being stored, the definition in the temporary files, and in multiple or subsequent passes, what is being done? Each meaning of each is substituted for what it is being used, and so on. It is up to the compiler developer, okay, to create one pass, 2 pass, 3 pass, 4 pass compiler. It depends for which language we are trying to design a compiler. Accordingly, we can generate or develop a 1 pass compiler, 2 pass compiler, 3 pass compiler, 4 pass compiler, depending upon the requirement. Clear? Further points are, number of passes increases the execution time. Obviously, if you increase the number of passes, the execution time will increase. If you decrease the number of passes, execution time will decrease, as it takes time to first store something in temporary files and then substitutes its value in the second subsequent passes. So this constitutes the overall time. The reasons for multiple passes in compilers are as follows. Why do we use multiple passes? These are the reasons. If we require forward references, we use multipass. If we have storage limitations, we use multipass. If we have optimization, if we want to do optimization, we use multipass. If majorly we talk about the difference between single pass compiler and multi-pass compiler, a very common question being asked in examination is, Single pass compiler is a compiler that passes through the source code of each compilation unit only once, as the name suggests. A multi-pass compiler is a type of compiler that processes the source code several times. Obviously, the time efficiency of one pass compiler will be faster than the multi-pass compiler. Why? Because it has got only one pass. One pass compiler is fast. Point number 2, since all compiler code is loaded in memory at once. On the other hand, in multi-pass compiler, the output of each pass is stored in disk and must read in each time the next pass starts. So it is slower than one pass compiler. Point number 3, the components of a one pass compiler are interrelated, much closer than the components of a multi-pass compiler. Okay, then we have a one pass compiler has limited scope of passes, but multi-pass compiler has wide scope of passes. Depending upon the need and requirement, one multi-pass compiler is more flexible in nature than one pass compiler, because intermediary forms are sometimes required. We have seen the use why we require multi-pass for forward references. You require for if there are any storage limitations, for optimization also you can use multi-pass. So it has got wider scope of passes. Point number 5, a one pass compiler tends to impose some restrictions upon the program. So constants, type, variables and procedures must be defined before they are used, because restrictions are being imposed in one. In multi-pass compiler, what happens? Does not impose this type of restrictions upon the user, so you can use it very easily. There are several programming languages which are of single pass type and multi-pass type. Many programming languages cannot be represented with single pass compiler. Example, Java requires multi-pass compiler. So you can go through several differences more from book, from net. You can look into. So we spoke about this in this lecture about the passes, the error table, the symbol table, and the difference between single pass and multi-pass compilers. So this is all for this in this particular lecture. Thank you so much.